Now, just a quick little video on fish behaviour. Now, this yellow fella bouncing around in this aquarium is a crossbred African cichlid. And typically an African cichlid would be far too aggressive to be in a tank full of little tetras. But this little fella was actually bred in this tank, and he was a little fry that was sort of just hanging around and managed to survive when there was a mix of African cichlids in this tank. And this little fella has just managed to evade capture and just managed to grow up unnoticed in this tank full of tetras. Now, we've been keeping an eye on him since, and he causes absolutely no problem. And that just made me inspired to make a little video on fish behaviour, because in many circumstances I've seen fish grow up with fish that they absolutely should not be with. And even to the extreme where I had a lady that had a small Oscar that grew up in a whole tank full of small fish and never even ate them. It was literally with neon tetras and never even ate them. So, as very rare as that is, when you grow fish up from small and they get used to an environment and the fish in that environment, and they're learning from the other fish in that environment, the behavior of the individual fish can be completely different to other fish from that species. So this same yellow fish could be put in a tank full of very aggressive African cichlids, and it would have learnt behavior to become a lot more aggressive because it would need to defend itself in that circumstance, and it would learn from the behavior of the other fish. So anyway, put a little note on the bottom of this video and let us know what you've encountered that should not happen. So there's a whole bunch of rules that we try to abide by in the aquariums, trying to give people advice on what should work and what should not work. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is up to the individual animals. And it is really not uncommon to find something going on in someone's tank that would absolutely not normally work. And that's just due to the learnt behaviours that an individual will have in the circumstance that that individual's grown up in. So once again, you could get that individual, put it in a completely different circumstance, and it can grow up to be a very different fish. So some of the main things that you want to be aware of is the more fish you have in a tank, in general, the better the fish will get along. The next thing is try not to feed your fish too much live foods, because live foods can make the fish more aggressive. And then the main thing you've got to do is very much watch the boss of the tank. So every single tank will have a dominant fish or a boss, and if that dominant fish keeps the rest of the fish in check, then it's a good dominant fish. On the other hand, if that dominant fish is very aggressive, it may attack some of the other species in the tank and eventually wear them down and potentially kill them.